And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
War for Edadh was a game that came out a couple years ago and has some very unique, innovative ideas to it. The game had a simple, basic combat system, and you had to build your way through it because, honestly, by the time you were done with the rulebook, you were like, wow, there's a lot involved in this game. And, oh, wow, there's another whole rulebook with even more involved in the game. And it becomes a fairly complex game. But I had some qualms with the game. The biggest one, basically, was the fact that the cards were very, very difficult to read, and you could not tell the different armies apart really very well because the backgrounds all looked the same. The pictures, while the artwork was not bad, it was just a very, I want a game that's not just pretty to look at, but is usable. Well, they've come out with an expansion for it, and I guess I should mention here that they've also come out with different rule sets on the internet, explaining how to play with more people or to play different ways. But they came out with an expansion, The Art of Conflict, or the War for Edadh at the beginning, and this adds extra people to each of the armies. I have a deck for each of the two different armies that fight in this game, and there's new different strategies, but the biggest thing that these add mostly are the fact that these add cavalry to the game, light, medium, and heavy cavalry. My problem, I guess, and there's going to be a few problems in this review, my first problem is the fact that I still don't see how the one army has much of a chance against the other army when all is said and done. Adding the cavalry, I thought maybe they would give the one army a little bit faster of cavalry, and it just doesn't work out very well. The one army is still certainly stronger than the other. However, what else does the game add? Let's take a look at it. I will say that they did a better design job on the cards. This is the card that you're looking at here is a card from the initial set, and here's a card from the new set, and you can see that the numbers are much crisper on the new card. The artwork is a lot easier to see. It's still difficult to tell the two armies apart. It's still not that easy. I mean, there's still a ton of information on these cards looking for all the numbers, but hey, I'll take whatever advantage I can get. Another thing that the game adds is it adds secondary terrain. Basically, you add another piece of terrain. For example, here we have marsh, and then I can add a gully to it. And again, you can see the difference between the cards. But I can add a gully to that terrain, and it's actually like an extra piece of terrain, and so that gully only takes place on part of the terrain card. Alright, well, let's add some more terrain to the game. The game also adds several different cards that are basically cards that can be played during the game that give you a bonus. For example, this is a troop conflict card. Now, notice all this blank space. I don't understand why that's there and why they couldn't make the writing bigger, but alright, we'll focus up on this. This one here says, do 0 damage to your opponent this round, but increase your MP by your chosen troops' pay. If you have an advantage over your opponent, let's say you win a certain duration in this game, and I guess I should mention my disclaimer here that if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you either need to play the original game or go back and watch my review about it. But each of these cards can be played at different points. This one causes 1 hit to your opponent's combat master if you are already ahead. So they give you certain advantages. There are different rules as to when you can play them, but there's troop cards here, there's support cards, there's combat master conflict, there's battle tactic strategic cards, and there's unit conflict cards, and all of them can be played at a certain time, to the point where you really are going to need a player guide to figure out when to play all these different cards. If you want to know more about the different specific units that are in this set, go look online. I'm here more in this review to talk about my impressions of the game. War for Edadh is a pretty neat game. I talked about it a couple years ago. I liked it a lot. I played through the original scenarios or the original battles, and it's just fun to try. I mean, the idea of picking the card that outplays your opponent is a neat idea, and the way the different cards interacted and moved on the terrain was fun. My problem with the game was the design, which has improved, but not improved enough that it's still a very difficult game to figure out what's going on at any point in time. You cannot glance at the board and figure it out at all. You will constantly be picking up your opponent's cards, looking at them to figure out what in the world is on those cards, what you're attacking, and it's very difficult to see what's going on at any one point. Secondly, as I said, with the original game, we have the Art of the Apprentice and the Art of the Warrior. Then this expansion comes with another sheet of rules. Now this is not that complicated. I mean, compared to the, 63 pages in this book. But the problem is, this game has gone the route of Advanced Squad Leader. I cannot for the life of me figure out what is going on in any particular game, and woe betide me trying to teach a new player. As much as I thought War for Edath was an innovative, neat game, this is the point where I'm getting off the wagon. I just can't see, there's so much going on that it doesn't feel like a battle anymore. You know, a battle, you send people out and there's fight and combat, but if I sit here and I say, okay, I'm playing this troop unit card in this round, and you're playing that unit conflict card, and I'm playing this here, and we're on this terrain, and I played this card, but it's affected by your Battle Master card, and we're combining all these different numbers for one attack. See, that's the problem I had with the original Battletech. It was a really neat game, fun to build those mechs, but in the long run, you spent so much time on one shot. This is worse. I really want to like War for Edath. I mean, I do, and I'll keep it because I'm going to play the basic game with other people. But these expansions and even the advanced game and the original thing, they just go to a level beyond which I'm ever going to be able to teach anyone who's interested in this style of game, unless they're already a die-hard gamer who loves tons of minutia and different rules. I could live with the complex rules if the cards were really well designed and you could instantly glance at them and figure out what they were talking about. But I'm really tired of having to sort through all these cards all the time just to find a specific card because they all look the same. I mean, I suppose I could put all the different cards in all different plastic bags and mark those plastic bags with labels so I could figure out what they were, but it's a card game. It should be a lot easier to tell things apart. But I could live with the bad design, I suppose, if the game itself. Boy, it sounds like I hate this game, and I don't. I think I'm just really disappointed at the direction that it headed down. I thought it showed a lot of promise, and it's just not there for me. So maybe that's not more of a review as it is just an opinion on the game, but if you're looking for simplistic, fun card games, there's many of them out there. This doesn't make the claim that it's simplistic, but it certainly doesn't make for a good game. I'm sorry. It has the gem of a good idea, and if you want to buy the original set and play with the basic games, I highly recommend that. To go beyond that, well, you're going to have to be super dedicated. I know there's people out there who are, but you're not going to get a lot more other than those.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.